Welcome, guys, to another episode of Know Your Worth TV. I'm your host and entrepreneur, Efrain Lozada. If this is your first time watching any of these videos, I want you to now hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and make sure that you're sharing because that's the only way you support me at no cost to you. So if you're watching an episode prior, you already know that I got some good friends, right? I know some good people, some entrepreneurs, some entertainers. So today's host, Mr. Elliott, he's going to sing a song. I'm just playing, but for real, we do have an entrepreneur, Mr. Elliott, that's really going to share his story, his success story, all the way from. Are you in Texas? Is that where you're at right now?
In Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, I was close. So Nashville,
That was
Tennessee, right? It was close. I don't know. But no, I appreciate you giving me your time and really get to know who you are. So, Mr. Elliott, give us an intro. When you tell somebody, I'm Elliott, who are you? What is that?
well, it's a loaded question, but I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a husband, a father of an 18-year-old, and a decent friend, I would say. I say decent because I'm not always the best friend because I'm so focused on my goals, but I'm a decent friend.
Let's start there, man. So, decent friend, right? You say decent because you feel you're not involved in other people's drama, or
Oh,
because I'm pretty sure you're still a great friend. You still give business advice, right?
oh, absolutely.
So you're a
Lots
great
of
friend. I
lots of
mean,
lots of business advice, that's for sure.
that's it. I feel like when you are an entrepreneur, you have to be that friend to someone. You can't be that person that be like, yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing. You want to elevate somebody. And that's what this whole purpose is. This platform is to elevate others through the stories and just watching you for some years. I don't know how we got connected on social media, but I've been watching you for some years and I've seen the growth, which is why I said, I need to reach out to Elliott. He needs to give us a secret sauce. And anybody else that's watching, his people, my people, we need to figure this out. Because like you said, you're an entrepreneur. You've had some nominations on some huge awards that I would, consider huge, and I'm pretty sure you consider huge. Your friends that your great friends too also consider huge. Can we start there? What are some of the achievements that you've been able to
Sure.
accomplish in your journey?
Absolutely. So let me just start with how I got into being an entrepreneur. Growing up, my mother, father, uncles, and grandparents were all entrepreneurs. And so I really grew up in a household just surrounded by entrepreneurs. My parents divorced when I was 12, which was a devastating thing for me. But when I was 15, my mother would come pick me up from school and I would go hang out with her at her job. And so she worked at an orthopedic clinic here in Nashville. I know this sounds crazy, but I would go hang out at her job, go into the kitchen, do my homework, and then would mosey my way up into the medical records department and help pull charts and file medical records. I did it just for fun, and they ended up putting me on payroll for $4.25 an hour back in 1993, probably before you were even born. But and
Almost,
so
almost.
see, but I worked there through high school, and I was so thankful and grateful for that opportunity because I got to see what healthcare looked like at a very young age. I got to see where pain points were when it came to office managers, front desk receptionists, nurses, physicians. And so I ended up working there through high school. My senior year of high school, my father passed away suddenly. I found him dead when I came home one day from winter break. It had a devastating effect on me, and I was
Mhm.
barely able to get out of high school, but I did. And then I ended up going to a local community college here in Nashville for 10 days before I dropped out. College was not for me. And so I went back to work for this orthopedic clinic, and I worked there until I was 21 years ago when I started the company. And so the reason I started Metacopy was because I saw a need. We were using a vendor at the time that released health information. And when I say released health information, so we send out medical records to attorneys, insurance companies, the state, patients, and other physicians' offices. But I saw a need there because the vendor we were using did a really crappy job at it. And so I was having to go up behind them and redo all their work constantly. And so I went to my office manager at the time who had a real open door policy, asked her, could I start doing this myself nights and weekends? She said yes. To my surprise, And so I started Metacopy that day, May 1st, 2000, with $50 in my checking account, no credit. And my mother took me to Best Buy to buy me a copy machine because back then we didn't have electronic medical records. Everybody was still paper. And so we ended
You
up,
showing your age today,
I
huh?
know, I know it. Uh, and so, anyways, we ended up going to Best Buy to buy this copy machine. And back then, if you signed up for AOL, they gave you a $500 gift card. So I used that gift card to buy this copy machine and started copying medical records at this orthopedic clinic. They were my first client, and I still have them 21 years later. That's my start of how I
Wow.
got the business going.
So the whole time that you're kind of beginning the story from going to community college, high school, are you still working for where your mom was actually working?
Yeah, so I left when I decided to go to college. I felt like I needed to take a break from actually everything. So I wasn't working at the time. And I think I took maybe like 6 months off just to like get my head around my dad dying, try to get through graduation and figure out what next steps were. After a parent passes away, especially at a young age, you lose guidance. And so I didn't
Yeah.
know where to go or what to do. And so I just needed that break. So I was not working, I think probably 6 or 7 months, but the orthopedic practice opened, their arms right back up to me. And I went, thankfully, and continued to work there.
So you just worked for a job, found a need, and said, you know what? I'm gonna do it myself because clearly the people that we don't have are not good. So and that was just $50. That was the start.
Yeah, it really was. And so, like I said earlier, growing up in an entrepreneurial household, my father and grandfather owned a printing company called Quality Printing. And as a child, I had to participate in the printing business. And so we did this one job that my grandfather still does all these years later called the Bible class. And we would have to print it, cut it, fold it, collate it, staple it, and rubber band it. And so when you see this production line and you're saying, okay, this is creating income, it's generating income for probably this whole family. You're attracted to that at a very young age. And you see workflow processes and how to make things more efficient. And so it was very easy for me to turn that on. I will couple that with, I took lots of business classes in high school. I went to a tech prep program. Before you were born, they had tech prep programs. And so you would take software applications and accounting 1, accounting 2. And so thankfully, I took all these business classes as my electives during high school, or I'm not sure I would be as equipped as I am today to run a multi-million-dollar business.
But you said you also got to see kind of really firsthand your dad doing it, your dad and your granddad. So would you say that's also been kind of an inspiration for you to follow in the entrepreneurship?
I would say that it was a lesson, not necessarily inspiration. So they both did an excellent job. I love my father. I love my grandfather, but they weren't the best. My father was not the best businessman. And so he would make all these promises and not keep them. And so say you ordered business cards or whatever it might have been that you ordered, he would promise you, oh, I have those to you on Friday. Next Friday comes, like, where are my business cards or whatever it might have been that the client ordered. And I saw that happen so much. And if you couple that with the lies he told going through the affair that he had, and which caused my parents' divorce, it turned me off from ever being that person. And
Yes.
so it was more of a lesson that I learned of what not to do. And so
Yep.
one of our core values at Metacopy is open and honest communication. And I do it with my employees, my clients, my vendors. That is very important to me, that I'm very open and honest. If I can't do something, I'm going to tell you. If I can do it and kill it, I'm going to tell you.
That's good. No, that's good stuff. And like you said, it was a lesson in anything that you do in life, right? I mean, you took the lesson from your mom's job to your dad to everything you're learning in school, and then really kind of pieced all together, packaged it, and created Medicopy. So when you created Medicopy 21 years ago, long time. I mean, you said it. You said, "Oh, how old you are?"
Listen.
Not me. I didn't say.
What you were,
No.
8 or 9 years old? You were just a baby.
No, but for real, so you start this company. What are some of the fears that you had at that time?
There's so many. The first thing that comes to mind, probably most recently, like in the last decade, is imposter syndrome. And you probably really deal with that the first start of anything, any project, podcast. Uh, I just wrote a book. Am I an author? Am I really a podcaster? Am I really a business owner? Am I going to be great at being a father or a husband?
Yeah.
And so there's this part where you don't feel worthy. And so I think that was my biggest fear. You would think that I would say like getting clients or financing, but that's not the case. I knew that I had the foundation to create a business and to make it successful. I needed to go within to figure out the rest of it.
No, that's good. So you would kind of talk about the mindset going into it, right? I mean, I guess you would kind of touch those points on really how you started sometimes to maybe even doubt yourself, would you say?
Absolutely. So, I mean, you as a salesperson, and when you're starting any company or any venture, and you're putting yourself out there, you want to do the best that you can. And when you're told no, we don't want to use you, or hey, look, no, I'm good. That can take a hit to your pride and your ego, right? And it's like,
Yep.
oh, how many more times can I be told no? I would assume it's like speed dating, and people are like, oh, I'm good on you. It's like, okay, well, damn, I thought I looked good. I thought I was doing right or whatever. And so there's that piece of it. But yeah, I think looking within, finding the confidence. I talk about this in my book where the truth is I found confidence in this business. This business has been here for me during breakups, during my daughter's birth. We grew from one employee to over 200 employees. We went from just being in Nashville to a nationwide company. And so I've relied on this business, which has helped my confidence throughout the years. I mean, that's what's happened. It's really been a shoulder to lean on, I should say.
Yeah. Um, you started this company, you're saying you have over 200 employees. When was that first time? How did you feel when you realized that you had something, right? You started this, you didn't really know what it would look like. When was that time that you realized I have something and I'm going all in?
Okay, so probably week one. I'll talk about this in my book too, Ball Bearded Boss, Manifesting Who You're Meant to Be. But I remember calling my mom, and I made $1,500 in a half of a day on a Friday. I'd worked half of a day that entire week. And I called her because I was so excited. It might have been $1,000. I was so excited about it. I was like, Mom, you're not going to believe this. I called her at work. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. I made $1,000 today, and it took me half of a day to do it. She's like, that's good, honey. That's good. Like, kind of was like very like not a big deal. And I was like, no, if I do this every Friday, I'll make $50,000. And if I do it 5 days a week, I'll make $250,000. And so once the math was in my head and I saw how I could do this and optimize this business, I went after it. And it's been nonstop. Metacopy has grown every single year for 21 years, including last year during a pandemic where we grew 39%. I mean, it's really nuts. I also give all this to God and the universe. I'm a firm believer that thoughts become things. And so I could not do it without God. I mean, I know it sounds maybe cheesy for some people, but the truth is that I've learned to surrender. And that's been very helpful.
I love it. No. Listen, for you guys that are believers, or even if you're not believers, he's telling you, telling you exactly how he got to where he's at. So I appreciate you actually sharing that and being open in that sense as well.
Yeah, listen, this is coming from a gay man, no college education, no startup money. I remember going to Bank of America with a business plan. I worked on it like 12 hours one day, like into the morning. And I walked into Bank of America asking for a $20,000 loan. That's what I wanted, was a $20,000 loan. And they told me no. And I knew this business plan was going to work, but they said no. And so that obviously takes a hit to you. Yep. I remember reaching out to to my brother's father. We have different dads. He ran a company, a college out in Oklahoma. And I remember asking him like, hey, or I wrote a letter like, hey, is there any way I can get this loan? And I never got a reply. Now I'm thankful for those things, right? Because it made me work harder. I worked harder because of that, because I was told no. I was like, okay, well, let me show y'all what I can do. And now 21 years later, I mean, we're doing $25 million a year. And so there's something to be said about that. And I don't have some secret sauce. I know you mentioned that at
Yeah.
the beginning. I don't have that. I do have surrender that I've given to God and the universe. I do believe that thoughts become things. I create vision boards every single year, have for 15 years or more. I believe in those. And not that you just put a vision on a board and you post it up and that's the end of the world and you hope that a Lamborghini pops up. That's not the way it works. But I do believe that if you put your vision out of your mind onto paper or a poster board or however you want to create it, and then you put action behind it, you will see results. You have to be consistent and you have to have great energy. You can't be somebody out here that's just some poor human being, or doing the wrong thing, or doing your spouse wrong, or getting over on your employer, or trying to side hustle while you're working over here on somebody else's clock. That's not the way the universe works. At least it wasn't for me. I think that's one of the reasons why I was attracted to you. We've been friends on Facebook for 11 years, and I remember watching your episode on Undercover Boss. And I think I got really,
That's where the magic happens.
And I got really, I'm a very emotional person. And so I got very emotional by the story. And I remember wanting to instantly connect with you. And so I'm very thankful for the relationship that we've had these last 11 years. Not that we talk every day, not that we talk every year for that matter, but it's been nice to watch each other grow, which is something else I'm attracted to, is personal and professional growth.
Absolutely. And I think that's important. Really, it's just networking, right? I always tell people in the business sense, it's networking. Like the reason that we were able to have this conversation, there was some sort of networking at some point, there's some sort of conversation. It was the impression that we left on one another. Like you said, we really rarely talk. When we do, it's just probably uplifting and very congratulating. I think that's huge and it's very important. And when you kind of talk about your business and how you've grown, these are the things that you're talking about. Like, you're not sugarcoating anything. I really do appreciate you being so transparent. Because everything that you say you didn't have to seek your sauce, but that's it. Like people are wanting to know, especially if they're a believer, about surrendering and understanding that you got to leave it up to him and manifesting and speaking to his existence and the vision boards. These are all important things. Is the vision board something that you teach others within even the work field, your family? Is this something that you really make a tradition of?
Absolutely. So every November here at Metacopy, I challenge every single team member to create a vision board. And so they don't have to do it if they don't want to, but anybody that does, I give them 8 hours of paid time off. So I give them a whole entire day off, and then I reimburse them for their supplies for making it. When I tell you people have gotten so creative with these vision boards, they've made these huge magnifying glasses with visions on each side, pop-up books where their visions pop up. I'm getting cold chills talking about it now.
That's cool.
It's so interesting to stop and watch people blossom. I mean, it really is. If you sit back, and now I've been doing this 21 years, so I've had plenty of employees. And today we celebrated one. It's been here 10 years. And I was talking to her like, it's amazing to watch somebody grow the way they do and see how God and the universe works, and the way people's decision-making skills really change their path on the way life is going to be for them. But yes, so back to the vision boards. We have a contest. So the first place winner with the best content, most creative, gets a week off work. Second place, 3 days off work. And third place, 2 days off work. Metacopy and Elliott gets nothing out of it, but to stop, sit back, and watch it all happen, which is the best feeling ever. I do not know any other employer that does this. I just don't.
I don't either. I never worked for one. I don't know.
to give away that much PTO, if I have 200 plus team members and I'm willing to give away almost a year's worth of PTO just to watch them invest in their own dreams of what they want. I mean, that's pretty, it's pretty exciting for anybody that I interview. I'm always telling them, they're like, what? Y'all do what? I'm like, yes.
I mean, it's a sense of giving back. Where does that come from?
I grew up in Christian school from kindergarten till my parents divorced and I was in the 5th or 6th grade. So my foundation is in Christianity. I definitely believe it comes from there. My mother and father are both very sensitive people. Both were Leos, but we had a very emotional connection. I think it has something to do with that. I learned at a very young age, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I know it sounds cliche, but that's really what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be kind to each other. We're supposed to help each other.
Absolutely.
If we're in a tribe together, we're supposed to have each other's back. And so anybody that's in my circle, that's exactly what I'm doing. I think I get it from my parents and just the upbringing. I also only surround myself with people like that. I will not waste time, which is why I talked about being a decent friend to bring this part full circle, is I will only associate myself with people who carry that same energy. In my interview process, when I'm interviewing team members, I will tell them, hey, we are optimistic, forward-thinking, positive company. We have no time for BS. We're not sitting in a negative Nancy situation, and we don't like constant complainers. If you're going to complain about something, you best have a solution that comes with it. If not, you're wasting my time, and we're all here about 100 years or less. And so
that's why you say you're a decent friend.
That's right.
Keep it real. That's why I would say decent friend.
And look here, a lot of people don't want to hear the truth. They don't.
I know. Listen, I already know.
Yeah, they don't want to hear it.
I'm gonna start telling people I'm a decent friend, and when they ask me why, I'm gonna let them know exactly what you just said. Listen, because sometimes you come here and you don't have the answer for your drama. Like, I need to know. That's good. I'm taking that. Listen. So you have so much to talk about. I really want to get a little bit, just kind of finish up here on the Medicopy, because I think that's huge. 21 years. Let's talk about those accomplishments. What were those accomplishments in 21 years that you've been able to see when it comes to awards? Because even just recently, you were nominated for an award. What was that?
Yeah, so just a couple of weeks ago, we made the Inc. 5000 for the 8th time as one of America's fastest growing companies. Most small businesses don't make it on this list, only 5,000 in the country. And only 1% of those 5,000 make it on the list 8 times. And so it's a huge accomplishment. We're so humbled by it because we're just doing the right thing. We're not doing anything special. We're not over here with a board telling us what to do because we're a debt-free company with no investors still 21 years later. And so we're just doing right. It's really about doing the right thing. But we've won best CEO. No, I'm sorry. Let me back up. We've won most admired CEO, best in business. We've been voted as one of Middle Tennessee's first or best employers. And we're constantly going after whatever's next. We were nominated for the next awards, but we're constantly doing something that elevates this company, and not for my ego or for me. I've already made it. I'm successful. I was successful 10 and 15 years ago. I'm way past what I thought I would be. I have no college education. I've been making money. This isn't about me anymore. This is about my team and elevating them, elevating our clients and customers and following through with our promises. That's what this is about doing real business, honest business.
Yeah. Are you still in the day-to-day business? Like, are you going into the office every day or no?
Yeah. So I've been, for 6 years, I've had a director of operations. And it took some time to get there. For the first 10 years, I was everything: sales, HR, compliance, business management, whatever it was. I was always, in the thick of it. And then I slowly started creating departments, putting heads in departments, having directors and team leads, and really build out our training process. And so all this stuff came off of me. And when you do that as a CEO and entrepreneur, you start losing identity, because now everybody doesn't need you from everything. It's like, oh, yeah. Well, what am I supposed to be focused on? And so my focus now is on culture and building the business. And so those two things are very important to me. I'm passionate about both. I interview every single person that wants to work here. Before our Zoom, before our podcast today, I'd interviewed 6 people. And so my mouth is dry, but I love doing it. I want people to know who I am, who they're going to work for, my expectations, what we're doing to impact our customers and clients. That stuff is important. But 6 years ago, my mother got really sick. She'd had a heart attack and a stroke. And my director of operations really stepped up to the plate. I took 6 months off so I could be with my mom. They gave her 6 months to live. And I wanted to spend every second that I could with her. And so my director of operations, Blake, stepped up to the plate, and he really has taken lead on this company. He runs it the same way I would, probably because I give lots of my intel and the way I do things to him, and he mirrors
That's
that.
good.
But I appreciate that. He's literally my right-hand man when they say that. But I also depend on lots of other directors here, and you have to trust them, let them, roll with their role.
So almost life, they say life happens, right? And sometimes we don't know why. So life happened for you, and if it wasn't for that moment, you probably would have still been day to day
Listen,
Elliott doing what you're doing.
listen, you can rewind it all the way back to when my dad passed away. And this is going to sound
Yeah.
somewhat probably cruel, but without that, I would not be the man who I am today, or the father, or the husband. I don't, obviously, no one wants to be cheated on, but because of the way he did my mom, it turned me off from any type of adultery or any type of cheating or any type of, looking outside of a marriage. It's not what I want to do. I think it's wrong. It's disrespectful. I think that if a relationship comes to a head, talk about it. That's why open and honest communication is one of our core values. And that goes for any relationship I have, friendship, employer, employee, or what have you.
Oh, this is amazing, man. Like, just listen to the story. There's a lot of things that you've had to overcome, and really those things that you've had to overcome got you to another level. Um, what were some of the things that during those times that where was your mind at? What were you thinking to overcome those obstacles in your life and those down times? What were some of the things, your thoughts for anyone that may be in that situation? We all have a story. For someone
Sure.
that may be dealing with something, what is the best advice that you can provide?
Two things. One, I always will go to faith. Um, so God or whoever it may be that you serve, that's where you should always turn. Um, Second is I believe that people get into ruts by talking about things that they don't want. And so it's easy to do that when something negative happens to you, right? Well, I don't want this to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to me. How dare them? How'd this happen to me? Instead, I actually just talked about this with an employee today, a pretty new employee, and I was telling him, hey, during this conversation, you have talked about what you don't want way more than what you've talked about what you do want. And so I want you to change your mindset and your focus to that. Because what happens is, and I put money on it, that after this podcast, even you will be thinking, how many times do I say what I don't want instead of what I do want?
You just said it, and I'm already thinking like, do I do this? Like, I need to, I need to be
I'm
more
telling
aware of
you.
what I'm saying.
And so this is what happens. If you're a firm believer that thoughts become things, then you will find out the universe doesn't hear about what you don't want. And so the more you talk about what you don't want, the truth is it's more of what you're focusing on, and you're going to get more of it. And so if you change that perspective and say, okay, this is what I want. I want this. Some people would say, I'm overweight. I've been overweight since I was 12, since the divorce. I go back and forth, up and down. And I talk about this in my book, where it's been such a struggle with me because I want to be your size. And so the truth is, I won't be. That's the truth. And so I had to have a conversation with myself and say, okay, Elliott, what is it that you truly want? My dad died when he was 47. I'm 43. I want to be healthy and live as long as I can. And so when I start focusing on that instead of,
Yep.
I don't want to gain weight. I don't want to eat that and gain weight. If I just focus on my health, that's a whole different perspective, the way you're looking at it. And that's just one thing. Some people, I don't want to sit in traffic. How about you change that to, hey, I want to get to work on time today. I want to get there early. Just little bitty things like that all day long add up. They add up. I promise you. It's a power of optimization. You start clearing that list out, I promise you it changes things. Something
I love
else,
it, man.
going back to that advice, something else I would say to do, I gave this advice to one of my dear friends a few weeks ago. If there's something that you are wanting, and if that means out of depression, if that means that you want a car, to lose weight, a new job, start a podcast, film a movie, I don't care what it is. Take a piece of paper. On the left-hand side, you write down what it is that you want. It could be one thing, it could be 100 things. In the middle, right next to what you want, you say what you're going to do to help you get there. What's that going to be? If it's me losing weight, I need to diet or at least eat
Yep.
healthy. and exercise. And then the last column is going to be, what can God do, or the universe, or whoever it be that you serve, to help do that? Maybe it's put a trainer in your life. Maybe it's helped. Maybe it's something like this. I mean, who knows? You never know what it can be. Yeah. And so when you start focusing on what you do want, right? You focus on what you want, and then you're telling yourself you're going to commit to the things that you are going to do to make that happen. I promise you that God and the universe will line everything up for you. It's the way it really is, the formula. It's the formula.
Elliott, you dropping some good stuff right now, man. This is all good for you guys that are watching. I mean, he's dropping some stuff right here. Write it down, rewind, whatever you got to do. This is it.
I appreciate it.
And because you keep throwing it, we're gonna get there, but you keep plugging it in. I want to know about this book, man. What got you? Was it something that you always thought, like, I want to write a book, or is it just life that kind of brought you to, I want to tell my story?
It's funny because I was approached maybe 4 or 5 years ago. No, it's been 6 years ago. I was approached about doing a book, and I was like, I don't know, I might. But I couldn't put my finger on what I wanted to talk about, because I don't want to talk about health information management and medical records. I don't want to talk about that. Because the truth is, I feel like I probably could run any business, not just a medical record business. I think I have, the goods to do whatever.
You know your worth.
I know my worth. And so last year, when COVID hit and there was downtime, I thought this was the time to do it. I'm going to do it. I was working from home, and I thought, I'm going to reach out and see what the process should be. I was quickly introduced to a co-author who helped write the book with me. And we went through the process, and it was one of the most therapeutic processes I've ever been through. It made me relive things from my childhood that I had probably hidden from myself. We store these memories. We have these traumatic things happen to us, some traumatic, some not, right? But we store these memories, and we put this importance level on each one of them. Like, did this have an effect on me or no? Or did it? Yes. I don't know. Hey, that might have hurt my feelings. Is that why I act this way? And so you go through this whole wave of feelings and emotions, and you realize this book isn't for you. It wasn't for anybody that even buys the book. For me, that book was for me. It was for me. I was able to leave that book and say, that's who I am. This is who I am. And this is why I am the way I am. And it just makes me feel thankful, blessed to go through all the things that I've went through my life. And there's people that have had way worse lives than I've had, right? I mean, way worse things have happened to them. But, we all have different stories and struggles. I just wanted to talk about mine and how I overcame them and how I got to where I'm at today. I'm not trying to sell anything from it. I'm just trying to inspire other people to let them know they can do it too.
And in the sense of you writing a book, because you didn't just stop at a book, then you created exactly what we see in the back, the Bald Bearded Boss podcast. Talk about that. Well, why did that come about? Is that something you just created the book and you realized how you were just so influential and you wanted to create also a voice, I would say?
I tell you, my network is pretty small. And so you talk about networking. It took me probably 12 or 13 years to venture out, to even start like going to networking events. I didn't want to go BS anybody. I'm not here into like, oh, so what do you do for a living? I don't know. What do you do for a living? I'm not into that because it seems fake to me, and I'm so authentic that I can't get past that piece. And so I would go, be red-faced, not want to talk to anybody, not want to network, not want to have this fake conversation. But I ended up getting into entrepreneur organization group. And that led me, I'm not even sure what was the question? I already missed it.
The podcast.
Sorry. Sorry, my brain. This is what happens to an entrepreneur's brain. My thoughts go everywhere.
No, I love it. I love it because it is authentic. You talk about being authentic. This is completely 100% you.
It is what it is. And so, anyways, so the book got started, and then with the podcast, I just felt like there were so many things that I needed or wanted to say to. I know I'm a white man, and I know I'm not a minority, but I'm a gay man, and at times I've been the minority in the room. So I want to say that as a disclaimer. However, I've been at the table with people of color. I've been at the table with other minorities, and they don't have the same. They definitely do not have the same opportunities as a white man. And I'm not here to save anything or anybody, but I am here to help. And whatever that looks like. And that's my goal. I want to help minority groups. I want to be able to be a soundboard for them. If they have questions about starting a business, running a business, investing in business, whatever it may be, I want to be there for them. And I feel like right now, and I hate to say this out loud, but I feel like what's happened in the past 12 to 18 months, corporate has started looking at it like, oh, we need to bring on people of color. And it's like, Metacopy's been doing that. You know, we have 77% of our team are women, 49% of our team are people of color, 60% of my management team are people of color and LGBTQ. My goal was to take a platform and spread it to small businesses, minority or not, and to help them grow as fast as they can. So they're not waiting 12 and 13 years like I was to go network. Some people don't feel comfortable doing that. So if they want to turn on a podcast and listen to it, like, oh shit, that was a nugget. I'm taking that nugget with me. Take it. And so that's my goal. That was my goal with the podcast. Sorry.
Creating a platform for others. No, I same thing here. You know, that's what Know Your Worth TV for. It's not so much for, I mean, in the selfish way, I tell people it's for me to get to hear stories. I'm one that always shares my story, but also giving a platform for others to share their story, but also learning from those stories. Any person that I speak to on this, you know, on Know Your Worth TV, I'm taking something from. So I'm definitely taking something from you in this sense. So there's just been a lot of success from you, right? There's the Medicopy, there's the book, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be another success for you. There's the podcast that you started just a little bit ago. What would you say has been some of the challenges through this all?
Yeah. People ask me this question, and you would think, I would say
there had to be some challenges, right?
I know
through any success, what was it? You know, I don't know. You know the challenges. What are those challenges?
Listen, I would be a liar if I said there was no challenges. Let me say that. I think that I box those up because I am so grateful and thankful for where I'm at. And without those small baby challenges that I went through, that might have been huge to somebody else or even huge to me at that time, it just trumps it all. And I think that's probably where my perspective is when someone asks me that. But listen, to be fair, I talked about this a few weeks ago with two of my oldest employees. One's been here 19 years, the other one 18 years. And there was a time when I, with Medicopy years ago, probably 17 years ago, 18 years ago, where I would write their paychecks on Friday and tell them, please don't cash these until Monday or Tuesday. There's no money in the bank. I've got to wait for the deposit to come through from Friday and Monday's checks to be deposited to cover those payroll checks. I mean, this is back in the day. There was times I couldn't pay rent. They were due on the 5th. I would try to stretch it out to the 10th. I would write the check on the 5th and say, oh, I paid it on the 5th. It's in the mail. You should get it any day now. And then, you know, they get it on the 10th, they deposit it on the 12th, and now you had a whole other week to do it. So I'm not saying I haven't had those challenges, but they're so small compared. I could not focus on those. That's why it's not top of mind for me to be like, oh God, there's this one time. I mean, I can, but it's just, I really have to dig deep. And it's not because I've had it easy or I've had it made. I had to struggle.
I get it.
For the first 10 years, I was my only salesperson. I had a 1996 Hunter Green Ford Explorer, and I drove that thing from here to Chattanooga to Knoxville to Memphis. I put 300,000 miles on that truck selling this business to providers, to healthcare providers and hospitals throughout the state. And then, of course, we started expanding throughout the country. Technology definitely helped with that. Going electronic medical record and being able to Zoom and go to meetings and things like that have definitely helped with the growth of Medicopy. But Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about being authentic since day one, you were real open with your employee. Like, hey, man, this is a situation,
Oh, listen, this is
and,
what it
and
is.
yeah, no, that's huge, man. That's good. All right, so I don't want to take it too much of your time. So we got a couple more questions. The first question would be: someone watching, someone wanted to be an entrepreneur. What are some key points that you can provide them to long-term success? Because 21 years, man, that's long-term. What are some of the things that you can provide someone with that's watching?
Sure. First, starting out, try to use as many resources of your own that you can. I do not recommend, I mean, 21 years later, I do not recommend going to the bank to get a loan. I do not recommend, I would probably go to a family member, someone that might believe in me, but I probably would just start with self. If you have it invested in yourself, that's the biggest investment that you have. If it's money, resources, time is the biggest thing. It takes time to do all this. It takes time to put podcasts together. It takes time to write a book. It also takes time to come up with a business plan, come up with marketing material, create a Salesforce or CRM. There's so many things that come along with that, but try to do it yourself at first. And the second that you start making money, make sure you pay yourself the correct way. And then hire yourself, an assistant or a second employee and start delegating as fast as you can. I made a mistake of not delegating fast enough. Did it get me to where I wanted to be? Yes. Could I have gotten there a lot faster? Absolutely. And so I've learned that delegating and getting things off of me and giving up the control, which is extremely hard for any CEO or entrepreneur, giving up that control is liberating. It's liberating. And I know most people who are starting out are like, hell, I don't have 200 employees to delegate to. I am doing it all myself. And so I feel that pain, and do that as long as you can until it makes sense. And I'll say this too for someone starting out. This goes back to what I was telling you a minute ago about maybe self-doubt or having, having imposter syndrome. Go after the big fish. Don't think that just because you're small, that you should be going after the small clients.
That's good.
Do not do that. Go after the big fish because they're humans just like you are. And as long as you're authentic and you're open and honest, and they can feel that energy, and they will, because that's who we are, it's what we do, they will trust you. And in any relationship, especially a client vendor relationship or some other partnership, that's what matters. They don't want to have to, sign the contract, hire you, and then you do some half-ass job, and then them figure out like, why did we hire these people? Get rid of them. They want that connection immediately. They want to hear the truth immediately. Just like any other relationship. That's what we want is the truth.
Absolutely, yeah.
We don't want
Right.
to,
Be
we don't have
open.
to,
Be open and honest.
yes,
Yeah.
we don't want to have to date around and figure out who's telling me the truth, who's calling me back, who's texting me back. We all want it. Just let's keep it real. That's all I want.
Yeah. No, that's good. And if you guys are watching, I mean, those are keys from someone that has a business, been in it 21 years, has gotten, his hands dirty and really still getting your hands dirty, man. For you to say that you're still interviewing every single employee, I think that's major. But also shows a lot about who you are. But
I
this
appreciate
is Know Your Worth TV. And before we wrap up, I need to know, what was that know your worth moment that made you realize this is what I'll be doing for the rest of my life? I truly enjoy it. What was that moment for you?
I think I will go back to the conversation I had with my mom, telling her that I'll probably get emotional. um, sorry. Going back to the conversation I had with my mom, saying, "Hey, I made $1,000 today or $1,500 today," and she said, "That's good, honey. That's good." And I was like, "No, you don't get it." That conversation years later was brought up with a conversation with my mom as we sit at the 40 under 40 awards, and I'm being, handed an award for, entrepreneurship, and she's there to share that. That's when I knew I made it. And she was proud of me. As I always go back to the Bible, or at least my faith when it comes to things. And my mother's been dead 6 years. My dad's been dead since 1996. And my goal every single day is to continue to honor my mother and my father. And so if that means doing the right thing, being the best entrepreneur or friend, decent friend, or best husband or best father, then I'm doing the right thing. I wish I could tell you like, oh, when I made my first $1 million is when I knew I made it, which trust me, that felt great. But that was the moment when I felt like she's proud of me. She knows what this is. And she used to ask me, I'm not lying to you. She used to ask me all the time, you know, I forget when we made our first $1 million, but we got to 5 million. She was like, don't y'all think y'all should be like, stop trying to get more clients? I'm like, no, look, I'm young. I'm 35 years old at the time. No, I want to keep doing this. And then you keep growing and growing. And she's like, what are you doing? The truth is, I want to do this until I'm at $100 million or more. I don't want to stop. I want to continue to grow personally and professionally for myself. It's really what we're here to do. Every other living thing on this earth is doing it. They're growing. Why are we not? We have to stop getting in this comfort zone, get out of it, and really focus on what we do want, which should be personal and professional growth. And sometimes it's hard conversations you have to have with your spouse and your friends because you've outgrown these people. And so either you do it as a team, just like how people, team up and lose weight together. Maybe you team up and say, hey, look, we got to get out of this negative conversations we have every single day on the way home from work, or when we get, when we're having dinner at night. Let's talk about all the great things that happened to us today. Let's give thanks and give gratitude for all the things that we have. I'm going to leave you with this. I'm a firm believer.
You're not supposed to do a lot, but go ahead. Leave us with something else. I love it. Go ahead. Do more.
I'm going to leave you with this. When you give gratitude and thanks for the things that you currently have, and that could be anything from a studio apartment to a McMansion that you're living in, God and the universe will give you more of it. They see how thankful you are for the things that you have. The issue with most people, and it's unfortunate, and if you listen to your friends' conversations or your wife or your husband's conversations, you'll hear that there's a lot of negativity and complaining going on and not enough gratitude and thanks being given. I challenge you to go look at your spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend or your boo and say, hey, I just want you to know I'm so thankful for you. And when you do that, you better believe they're going to give it right back. And if you keep that going, imagine what the relationship can be. And not just with your boo and your boyfriend and your girlfriend. Imagine if you did it with your parents, your siblings, your coworkers, your employees, your pastor, whoever. It changes your whole life. I'm telling you, and we all have that in us. We can do it easily. We can do it just like that. It's a matter of a thought.
Man, you drop it. Look, you said you didn't have the sauce. You have the sauce, Elliott. Everything that you said today was the sauce. This is what we needed. Anyone watching, this is what we needed right here. You really left us with so much, and I really, really appreciate your time. Where can they find the book? Where can they find the podcast? Where they can find you? If they needed your services?
Yeah, listen. And I'm not really charging for any type of services. I honestly will give you great advice if you need it. But you can follow me on Instagram at Bald Bearded Boss. You can also go to my website, baldbeardedboss.com. You can find the book and the podcast on there. Listen, it's been a pleasure. I've been honored to be on this podcast. I'm thankful and grateful for you.
Thank you so much. Guys, this has been Know Your Word TV. Mr. Elliott right here, dropping the sauce. You guys go show him some love. Purchase the book. Just go see what it's all about. From the podcast to his business to go verify them awards, man. He's not making this up. He's being completely transparent on what has happened. And also, if you guys can also watch more videos right here. This has been Know Your Word TV. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, all the good stuff. Until next time, we'll see you later.